Traveling to different destinations all in one trip is a huge appeal to taking a cruise vacation. However, with cruise port safety concerns, more ships in port, and increased offerings by the cruise lines, some savvy cruisers are choosing to stay on the cruise ship in port and not get off the ship. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, I love cruising, I love travel, I love taking excursions. However, there are definitely some times that I do stay on the cruise ship in port. And recently, there are some new reasons, including one that we just found out last week when I actually regretted getting off the cruise ship in a cruise port of call. I will share that one with you, along with 9 others that you need to know before you go on a cruise. Now, before I get started, there are 2 things. Firstly, if you're a regular viewer on my channel, you'll notice that I'm in a different location yet again. I'm actually not staying in Florida full time. I am going to be heading home in just a couple of days. Oh, sadly. And if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number 1, tender ports. So if you are tendering rather than docking in a cruise port of call, it's worth considering if maybe you should stay on board the cruise ship. Now, I mentioned this because a few years ago, maybe about half the cruise ports of call, maybe a little bit less actually, were tender ports. But now it is less common. But what is a little bit worse than before is a lot of cruise ships, well, have a lot of passengers on board, maybe 4,000, 4,500, 5,000 or more. And this means to get off the cruise ship by tender, that it is a long and a little bit of a painstaking process. You have to get tickets, you have to wait in line, and I noticed even on my recent cruise that this could have meant for people an hour or more of wasting time before even getting onto the tender, and then after that another half an hour maybe till you get to the cruise port of call. Unless you really want to be there, it might be a great day to stay on the ship. Number 2, cruise line private islands. Now, I have a couple of reasons why you should consider staying on the cruise ship in a cruise line private island. And by the way, the beaches are still beautiful. So if that is what you want, a beach day, I would definitely get off. But some reasons to consider not getting off are, firstly, that a lot of them are tender ports. Now, some of these tender port private islands are actually building docks. So for instance, Norwegian Cruise Line's Great Stirrup Cay, they are building a dock there, as well as some others. But right now, tendering, it really is quite a process that takes that additional time. Now, the other reason is that if you have a drink package or even Wi-Fi, that may not work on the cruise line private island. Now, Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, they stop at Perfect Day at Coco Cay, and their cruise drink package as well as their Wi-Fi do work on the private island, as well as MSC's Ocean Cay. But other private islands, so for instance Half Moon Cay, well, that drink package unfortunately doesn't work there. Now, by the way, I do want this video to be helpful, so I do have a little tip. If you take a cruise line excursion, that is usually one way that you can get a priority tender. So that is going to make the process quite a lot better. And as well, if you're staying in a suite, or if you're staying in Haven or MSC Yacht Club, you're also going to get a priority tender, and in some cases because of loyalty status. Number 3, speaking of packages, you've got a drink package or a bundle. Now, if you're on a cruise, you're there on vacation, well, what you can do when you stay on the ship while you're in a cruise port of call is that you can take advantage of the drink package rather than heading into port and perhaps booking a resort for a day where you now have to pay for that excursion, pay for that pool to sit at, and pay for those drinks. Now, that actually happened when we did a celebrity cruise last year where we had the all-included package, and we did have drinks on board the cruise ship. We left there in Nassau to go to the Baha Mar Resort. We got to the Baha Mar Resort, and honestly, it wasn't even as nice as the cruise ship, in my opinion. And what happened is my sons both said to me, why did we leave basically an all-inclusive resort to come here? it cost us a lot of money, and we could have enjoyed a similar and maybe even a better atmosphere had we stayed on the ship. Number 4, crowded cruise ports of call. Unfortunately, that is the reality in many cruise ports of call, especially in the Caribbean, but even sometimes in Europe. And if you want to just walk around or you want to go to one of those local beaches, whereas a few years ago, you could have done that easily on your own and it wouldn't have been that crowded. Nowadays, you're going to find oftentimes that these ports are quite busy. Now, I do have a suggestion. You could find an alternative place. So don't go to the busiest tourist spot. So for example, usually when I went to St. Thomas, I love it there. I would always go to Magens Bay. I absolutely love Magens Bay, but the last couple times we went, it was so crowded. So I'm finding myself now booking excursions or even trying to find some a little bit more secluded spots. Now, I do have a little bit of an extra tip that is going to make that day a little bit better. You can actually split the difference. So instead of not getting off the cruise ship in a port of call, you can get off for about half the day. Now, there are 2 ways to do this. Either you can get off very early in the morning. Sometimes your cruise ship is going to dock at like 7 or 8 a.m. Get off right away. At 8 a.m., you're going to be one of the early ones. You're going to avoid that bigger amount of a crowd. Or you can get off the cruise ship at about 12 or 1 o'clock when people start heading back. Number 5, cruise port safety. Now we have to talk about this because there are different travel alerts and advisories, and you do want to be safe when you're in a cruise port of call. Now in general, if the cruise line is going to bring passengers there, overall it is going to be safe, but you do want to follow some general precautions if you do decide to get off. Either you could book an excursion with a cruise line or a reputable tour provider, or if you decide to go on your own, stick to those touristy areas and stay with a buddy. Don't really go on your own. Now, I am going to leave a video all about cruise port safety at the end of this video with a lot of practical tips in case that can be helpful. Now, some cruise ports of call that have recently had elevated travel advisories include Nassau, Bahamas. They include Honduras. However, Roatan is typically considered safer than the mainland, Belize, as well as some different cities in Europe, including Barcelona and Rome, where petty theft or pickpocketing is a little bit of a concern. Number 6, if you have a short day in port. Now, this is the situation that happened to us, and when I have a short day in port, I probably in the future will just stay on the cruise ship. Now, we were in Tortola, and honestly, I have been there before. It was so beautiful. We did an excursion to Virgin Gorda. I highly recommend it. However, when we saw Tortola on the itinerary, we were so excited to go. But then we realized once we were on the ship, or even a little bit before, that unfortunately we were only there till 2 p.m. And when you're in a cruise port until 2 p.m., the all aboard time is 30 minutes before, so 1:30. A cautious traveler, I want to be back by 1 o'clock. It really didn't leave a lot of time. Now, we got off the cruise ship in Tortola, and unfortunately there just isn't very much in walking distance. So there wasn't a lot that we could do on our own. Had I booked an excursion, I would have been okay. But if you do have a short day in port, it really is a day you don't want to wing it. You definitely want to make sure that you plan. Number 7, you have a port intensive itinerary. So don't stay on the cruise ship all the time, but if you're visiting port after port after port, at some point you do need to rest. So it's a good idea, stay on the cruise ship one day, let other people get off, have a day that maybe you sleep in, that maybe you relax by the pool. And by the way, one of the nice things about staying on the cruise ship when everybody or most people are going to get off is that that cruise ship is going to be much quieter. It's almost going to feel like your own private yacht. This means when you go to the bar, there isn't going to be a long line. When you go to the buffet, you're going to be able to easily find a table and even get your pick. It makes it really nice just to relax and unwind. Number 8, the cruise ship is the destination. If you're on a cruise ship with a lot of things to do, whether it's water slides, zip lines, different activities, well, you're going to want to probably plan one day that you do stay on board the cruise ship. And that is because on the sea days, that is going to be a day that people are going to try to do it all, especially as you get close to the end of the cruise. So if you can stay on board that cruise ship, you can do, whether it's ice skating, whether it's going just on a water slide, any of the different activities. Maybe you go on the Bolt roller coaster when you're on a Carnival cruise ship. You're going to avoid those crowds and even be able to maybe do that activity multiple times. Number 9, you booked the thermal spa pass. Now, if you have a thermal spa pass, maybe it's even included in the type of cabin that you have, or you booked that for the week. Something that you'll notice is the sea days, it's going to be pretty busy, but on a port day, it is just going to be perfect. So you could really relax and enjoy it. And also, along with that, you can actually book massages and other spa treatments, usually for a good discount on port days as well. Now, I'm gonna leave that video all about cruise port dangers and safety tips right after this one, but I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever stayed on the cruise ship when it's in port? Do you plan to in the future? Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.